Hello and welcome to the First Impressions of Robo Rally 30th Anniversary Edition and the expansions. A little bit different this time. I put all the expansions in the box. I have been waiting for the 30th Anniversary Edition since I heard about it somewhere around March of this year. I remember Robo Rally when I played it back in 1994. And I know that Renegade did a reprint last year, but it wasn't high on my priority list. It's difficult for me to say if I'm glad that I skipped getting the regular version compared to the Anniversary Edition, and we'll get to that later in the video. Robo Rally is a race game, and I say that very loosely. In my experience, and from most people I've talked to, Robo Rally is a game of pure chaos. It involves a lot of planning that goes sideways very quick. If you've been watching the channel, you've seen me put up a bunch of racing games, and honestly, I am not a fan of racing games. They don't offer me any more variety than going around in a circle, so I find them incredibly boring. I did put a lot of positivity towards Dungeon Kart just because of the combat system. But in all fairness, nothing meets the carnage and chaos of Robo Rally. Robo Rally is literally watching accidents happen like a psychopath without any moral obligations or judgment. And there is a story. The story is we're a bunch of robots in a race factory that's not logical or OSHA approved. Josh at Let's Game It Out will be proud of the design choice of the shenanigans placed on the board. And if you haven't seen Let's Play It Out, definitely check out their Satisfactory video because Robo Rally's boards kind of look like that. The premise is simple. First to race to all flags, in numerical order, wins. And there are 4 phases per round sequence, and an activation sequence that's 5 rounds, depending on if you're in play or not. You don't die in this version of Robo Rally. I remember in first edition you had like 3 lives, I think. This one, it's infinite respawns. Either on the archive token or the reboot token. And that depends if you fell off the docking bay or the board. Robo Rally has 4 phases. The first phase of Robo Rally is the upgrade phase. You can spend 1 energy to draw an upgrade, and or you can install one upgrade. The cost of the upgrade is in the left corner here. That's the number it costs to install. The yellow upgrade cards are permanent upgrades, and the red ones are one-time use. And just kind of store them up there. That's the first phase. The second phase is where programming comes in. You're going to draw up to your hand size of 9 cards. And then you're going to pick 5 of them. They're pretty self-explanatory. You just kind of follow the arrows. But what you're doing is plotting your movements. And if you notice, we have 1 through 5. These are called the registers. Everyone's going to activate that registered number in player order. And this has a lot to do with how you're going to plot stuff. The chaos part of the game isn't just the interactions you have with other players. You don't have a lot of very good movements. So you're definitely trying to figure out the best actions to make with the choices you have. And in this example, the first register will be a 2, because I'm going to move 2 forward. Then I'm going to do a 1 move. That will put me into this pit of water. I have this action card, which lets me repeat an action, which will be the last action card. So I'll put that there. And you see the turning of these arrows. When you go down them, you're going to turn with it. So I will put a turn right. And the last one I'm going to put is this power up, which will return an energy. Chernobot here is going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to put those out right now. So how this works is everyone's going to reveal, well, in player order. First player with player order token will activate and reveal. And this says move 2, move 2. And then, once Chernobot's revealed their first register, we're going to do the board effects. And the board effects are extremely chaotic. As you can see by the reference card, everything on the board is going to activate in a certain order. Right now, no one's on anything, so we'll just say it's a wash. You reveal the next register, do the board effects again, and you continue down until everyone is revealed. So that should be where I am by the end of Register 5. Then you'll discard everything. You also discard the cards you didn't play to your discard pile. And then you check for endgame stuff, damage, all that other fun stuff. And you repeat this process until there's a winner, because your goals are to get to the flags in numeric order, one being there, two there. If you notice, the board has tons of hazards, from the water, lasers, batteries, stompers, pits, flamethrowers. We have portals. There's a lot of things that just don't go to plan in this game. Another aspect of the game is how the players will interact with each other. One of the things that happens during the resolution phase of the board, players can shoot at each other. You will always shoot in the direction you're facing, and you'll deal damage. They'll draw cards off the damage deck, depending on what it is. If this is damaged during the end of that register, you'll take that damage card, especially if it's a haywire, you'll place it face down. They'll know what it is, and they can work around it. Other damage cards they can draw are cards like Spam. Spam just kind of sucks. Spam goes straight into the discard, but what it does is it's clogging up your hand and limiting your draw, because you cannot discard the Spam cards. You can play them, but they do have an effect of RNG, which is discard whatever's in the register and flip up the top card of your deck, which probably is going to hinder you. Damage cards, when they're placed in the register, you will not play a command here, but you'll know what it is. You can take advantage of it and plan around it. And sometimes, especially haywires, they do a lot of things that kind of break some of the normal rules in the games. They can be overly powerful if you can work around them, but it's pretty difficult. Ways to get rid of Spam: you can play it in the register and it just becomes a wild, which will replace itself. Same with the haywires. When they're face up, when they all resolve, they will get discarded to the damage deck discard, not your personal discard. It's a neat system. An easy way to get rid of them is shutting down. The problem with shutting down, it does not remove damage cards in your deck, but it will remove them in your discard, in your register, and in your hand. The other thing about shutting down that's kind of dangerous is you lose your 5 commands during the register action phase. You will still be at the mercy of board effects. Use at your own risk. It's a trap. It's rare to find a safe spot to get away with using shutdown. The other option is to reboot, but what reboot is, it pulls you off the board. You're going to draw 2 damage cards, so you're not avoiding damage. And then you will respawn on the reboot token if you're on that board. If for some reason you fell off the docking bay, you will respawn on your little thingy. I don't really understand this, because it's kind of hard to die here. And dying in this game is falling down holes, being smashed, falling down holes. You don't die from damage. Damage just kind of clogs up and makes you more action inefficient. At the end of round 4, you're going to pass around the priority token. It's going to go to the left, and now they will be the one to activate whatever is in their first register. If you love chaos, you will definitely love Robo Rally. This is a battle royale. I consider it more a battle royale disguising itself as a racing game. And I enjoy this a lot. The game is very frustrating. The game is very difficult. Players can bump each other into, like here, a pit. You can bump players into smashers. Sometimes the arms will trigger during that register phase, depending on the number listed below, and it will trigger and knock you into there. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the more players, this is one of the strangest things about the game. The more boards you have, the less interactions the players have, and the less they'll screw with each other. Robo Rally excels at lots of players on a small map. Honestly, one board is pretty tight with 4 players. 2 boards with 4 players might be a little too much free space. With that, this game is not for everyone. I know a lot of people that hate this game, and I know a lot who love it. And honestly, it's a weird place to be, almost a 50-50 of a love-hate relationship. This is not a game I can see being a constant priority for people, especially because the games do run long, even though they say they don't. And honestly, that depends on how many flags you have. It's kind of a catch-22. But this is a very interactive game with other players. The nostalgia factor is the main reason I got Robo Rally. The other reason is because this is supposedly a limited run, whatever that means. And collector's edition, I guess. I don't know if they're going to do a 40th anniversary. That's another decade from now. I don't know what their plans are for this game. I mean, this, from what I understand, is the 5th revision of the game. I didn't even know it went up that high. It's either 5th or 4th. I can't remember. I also don't know if this is a limited production run for sale. I don't know if it's going to be continuously on the shelf or not. I'm not against the concept of collector's editions or limited runs. They don't bother me that much when it's just cosmetic upgrades or quality of life improvements. It does bother me how this was done. W. Craig Trader on Board Game Geek gave a very good description of the differences. And some of the differences were noticeable when I was looking at the expansion boards compared to the regular boards. Obviously, the box is bigger. That's pretty much a given. It did come with a one-piece chunk of foam, and I thought to myself, you know, that has to be future-proofing for expansions or fit all the current expansions. And yes, that's what it's for. But it's also really deceptive because the box is huge and it's kind of empty. Some of the weird things about this is the fact that the normal version of the game only comes with 6 robots, 6 player boards. The 30th Anniversary Edition comes with 8. As far as the value you get for the 2 extra robots, if you want to play 8 players constantly, or have the opportunity to do it, or just the option of it, yeah, 30th edition fills that. But I don't know how easy it is to get that many people to consistently play to justify it. 8 people is a lot in a board game usually. But if you can pull it off, more power to you. These dual layer boards are exclusives to the 30th edition. They give you a little thing for the energy cube tracker and your little checkpoint flag marker, and they have this recess spot for cards. I don't like this. As you can see, there's a lot of wiggle room for the cube, and it does jump around fairly easy. The checkpoint milestone markers, there's nothing to actually keep this from sliding around, so it can get bumped and moved. The last part, these little cutout grooves do not fit sleeve cards, and I like to sleeve everything. And this being a collector's edition or whatever, you would think that this would have been thought of, especially since they put a little finger groove here, but it doesn't work. If you don't use card sleeves, cool, but again, this is supposed to be the luxury edition. I'd imagine you want to keep it in good shape. Essentially, this dual-layer board does not serve any different function to me or for me compared to the flat cardstock that comes in the retail version. One of the things I thought was weird too is how the deluxe components are. Of all things, I thought the flags would be different from the retail version. They are not. And you have to put stickers on them, which seems a little odd. A lot of these deluxe upgrade components, like the wood tokens, there's only 24 of these wood tokens. It's not a lot to be like the price. The MSRP is 120. I've seen places sell it for 70, which I think is actually the correct and fair price. Because the regular one MSRP is about $50, most places sell for about $45. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird that this is more than double the price of the retail version. Things they've done differently. The 4 boards that come with 30th Anniversary Edition, they are built better. You can see they have this black lip around it, and what they did is they wrapped around and then glued another piece on top. You can kind of see that. It's really light, but you can kind of see it right there. And it's nice, but it doesn't match any of the expansion boards. Kind of throws it off. And they're a little bit thicker, but not by much. Another thing is, the 4 boards, they're double-sided, which is cool, that come with 30th Anniversary Edition are unique to 30th Anniversary Edition. If you want the base game boards, you have to buy a copy of the base game. I'm not too happy about that, especially for the price point, because they could have thrown in the 4 base game boards. It wouldn't have cost them that much more. Especially since they're making way more than this. I, again, don't know if it's because this has some weird collector's value. These components just don't feel that much of an upgrade to me. I don't know if the insert is also different. I imagine so, because this is so big. But I don't even know if the regular edition comes with an insert. But it's just a standard vacuum-formed insert. It's nothing special. And it's kind of janky. I say that because if you sleeve your cards, they're not going to fit the upgrade, and damage decks will fit here, but when you start adding expansion stuff, it will not fit. This giant loose pit kind of throws me off. Oh, you do get this metal coin, by the way, with the 30th Anniversary Edition, and it's nice, but I don't know why you justify such a huge price increase. Another thing I thought that was really weird is they said that the minis were better than the retail version on the 30th Anniversary Edition. I looked at the photos, and all I noticed is mine seem to have a darker wash on them. You can see that giant chunk of black on there. I don't think they are a better mini. I think they just put a wash on it and be like, oh yeah, we'll charge extra for that. That's different. Because they kind of look the same, except they were brighter in the retail version. Another thing that I remember from a long time ago, the robots were metal. And they did a huge disservice for the Anniversary Edition by not making them metal. I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know if this is a money grab. I don't know if Renegade, Avalon Hill, Richard Garfield, or friggin' Hasbro has anything to do with this. It just seems disingenuous. Nothing here feels like it's that much better than what would be core gameplay, especially if you're going to play with expansions, because it now just doesn't match, which feels wrong. At the end of the day, for double the price, it's hard to say, you know, go out and get 30th edition compared to the retail version. The quality of the upgraded components makes me think that the retail version's components are worse, but from what I've seen, they look the same. This really is a niche product for either collectors, completionists, or people who believe that they're getting the best version. Yeah, the insert does fit all the expansion. It doesn't fit them well. I put the damage deck and the upgrades in here. If you don't sleeve it, it probably does fit, but I don't think it will. The minis are really tight. I don't know why they made them this tight to put in. It's kind of a bizarre choice. There's a lot of wasted space in here, and even with all the expansion stuff, they could have done so much better. These tiles come from one of the expansions. They could have made a nice little small part for that. These could have been placed lower and something to put on top to keep the boards more... It's just a lot of wasted space. Overall, I am happy that I got Robo Rally 30th Anniversary Edition, because I don't have Robo Rally, and I do enjoy the game. But I'm also disappointed by the quality of it. I got all the expansions that have been released so far. 2 more coming in November and October, November, something like that. And the value you get from this is wonky. Honestly, the money that you paid, if you paid MSRP for this, you could have bought all the expansions in the core game for like $10 more. It'd be like $130 for everything made so far. And you'd get way more value out of it. More value, more variety. You don't get these boards. These boards are extremely unique because they have all the expansion stuff already on them, and you're not going to find these boards anywhere else. None of the expansion boards have all the jank that these boards have. This board specifically is just pure chaos. It has elements from every expansion, and some elements from expansions that haven't been released yet, like the repulsors. Those will be coming out in a future expansion. The boards are also a throwback to the original boards. I'm not sure how that is, but it's been 30 years, so I don't remember. Honestly, rating this is very difficult for me because of the price. I like the game, but the price sucks. It's kind of like ordering a Wagyu burger. Or a Kobe beef burger, I guess, if they have that. It's an overpriced burger that isn't that much better than a regular burger. It sounds and looks fancy, but at the end of the day, you're still getting a burger, and you can't help but get ripped off. And that's kind of how I feel about 30th Anniversary Edition. What it advertised and what you got are kind of a bait and switch in my opinion. Or they're just like the lowest Chinesian Temu-ish knockoff thing. For the 70 extra bucks, you really don't feel like you're getting anything near the value that it should be. Robo Rally Master Builder is the only boxed expansion so far. It comes with 17 double-sided modular tiles that allow you to customize the board somewhat, and 6 double-sided mini boards with a starting tile and 5 new upgrades. These boards are punched out just like the other expansion and core game boards. 2 of the 6 boards are blank, and it gives you creativity over parts of the other boards. The mini boards can be placed on any of the main boards to cause more chaos or remove it. They can be used as extensions, a bridge to other boards, or they can be used to build your own tracks. None of the boards in this expansion add any of the new mechanics from the other expansions. But I have a feeling that they're going to make another small box expansion, and they're going to add the upgrades / obstacles from the other expansions and combine them into that. The limited number of upgrade cards, 5. It seems like every expansion is going to come with 5 upgrade cards, and it looks like it's the norm for all the other expansions. I really like the modularity of this set. It costs $4 more than the regular board expansions, and I feel like you're getting a lot better value out of it. Honestly, I would consider this the best expansion to get if you're looking for more variety to the base game or the 30th anniversary if you don't already have it. Especially because it lets you customize a lot of stuff, and you can put on the 17 tiles any way you want, or you can put the blank and make whatever. It's a good system. Chaos and Carnage is the first board expansion. You get 3 double-sided boards and 5 upgrade cards. It adds 4 new board effects from randomizers, teleporters. It does add another version of the pit called Deep Pits, but it's the same thing as the regular pits. I don't know why they made a new icon. And the Crusher. All these expansions so far have detachable rule sheets built into the packaging, and some pack of cards taped to it. I do like the detachable card, but I do wish they added some packaging protection for the corners on the bottom of the boards. They are easily damaged if dropped. There's not much to say about the boards. More chaos, and the Chasm board is definitely going to be a nightmare to play with. I was surprised that there was nothing about pre-made tracks using the boards, and it's a continuing trend with the rest of the board expansions. The main rule book and the Master Builder actually do have some suggested layout or track designs. These board expansions also seem to be overpriced in my opinion. They're around $17 each, which I consider fair, but the MSRP of $20 seems a bit high for what you get. When they did the Clank board expansions, you got new wooden set character pieces. Thrills and Spills is the second board expansion. It adds 3 new features. We have portals, oil slicks, and lots of fire. 5 new upgrade cards. The boards focus heavily on the new mechanics, and the phasing upgrade is extremely strong if used correctly, and that's a big if things are going to go to plan. I don't think this is a priority, especially if you have 30th edition. All the hazards are actually on the 30th edition boards. It does make use of portals more than the 30th edition boards. So if you want to use that mechanic a lot more, then go for it. The last board expansion is Wet and Wild. It adds water, drains, ledges, ramps, currents, and brings back the Crusher from Chaos and Carnage. There's also a new activation sequence on the board effects if you don't have the 30th edition rules, but I don't see how that'd matter because it only affects Wet and Wild. Surprisingly, there is a lack of water hazards when compared to the other board hazard mechanics. All the other board sets seem to focus a lot on their hazards. Wet n Wild, not so much. Only 2 boards have mainly water hazards out of the 6. And the upgrades focus more on movement, which is nice. And this is the first time that all 5 of the upgrades are permanent upgrades. Wet n Wild is definitely sadistic, I guess. The designers were sadistic when they designed the 2 water boards. And just, again, like all the other boards, I don't put this high on it unless you really want to play these mechanics or extend them. And that is all the current expansions for Robo Rally. As far as the new stuff coming out, the 2 new board expansions are Contamination, which is going to include radiation, radioactive waste, and one-way walls, which I don't remember how one-way walls work or any of that, but it sounds fun. 5 upgrade cards, but they didn't spoil those yet. And apparently it's an updated reprint of the classic radioactive expansion from 1998. If you have that and remember that, cool. I don't remember it at all. Turn and Burn is their other expansion. The new board elements include chop chops, repulsor fields, and trapdoors, which I find a little funny because they are actually included in the mechanics of the 30th Anniversary Edition boards. Again, you're going to get 5 new upgrade cards. And this is an updated reprint of the classic Grand Prix expansion from 1997. I might come back and revisit Robo Rally 30th Anniversary Edition with all the expansions when the 2 new expansions come out. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I'm still doing the 2024 giveaway, and if you want to win some free stuff, check out that video. As always, thank you for watching. If you like what I do, please like and subscribe. Other than that, take care of yourselves, and GG's.